Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard. And the Ducks are back at home finally after their road trip. That was a little crazy, right? We remember some of those games that they played against some of our favorite teams in Vegas and Nashville and whatnot. But the Ducks are in the middle of a homestand. We're going to talk about the 4 games so far. We're going to talk about Getzlaf's 1,000th game in the NHL and as a Duck. We're going to discuss Teemu Selanne and his book, some league news, and the Ducks did make a trade, not for Taylor Hall, but we'll get to that later in the show as well. But let's get to this homestand, Eddie. Kind of an interesting one, if you will. The Ducks first playing the Winnipeg Jets in a wild game that saw 11 goals scored. The Ducks in this one fighting it out in the beginning. They got down early and were down 2-1 in the first period. Then they turned it on. They scored 4 goals in the second period. Then ended up, getting a couple goals by Carter Rowney in the third. But this was probably one of the most entertaining games of the season so far, Eddie. We've had a couple, but this one, I mean, there was just goals galore. It was you get a goal, everybody gets a goal.
Yeah, lucky number 7. It was just insane. It was one of those games where Winnipeg's a team that's really lacking on their back end, and the Ducks exploited that and took advantage and went ahead and lit up the goalie, and the Jets didn't really have a response to that. They're missing some key guys, including Dustin Byfuglien, who's out this season, and we'll talk about that later. But they really couldn't get back into this game. They started off strong, and the Ducks just kept piling on. And once the Ducks got that lead, they just put their foot on the gas pedal and kept going and just steamrolled them. It was a really fun game to watch. You had a rookie, Mahura, getting 3 assists. Grant's deflection goal was really kind of weird, and a lot of people thought it wasn't going to be a goal. And you can even see his face, too, when he was looking up at the Jumbotron, okay, it's probably not going to be a goal, but it's called a goal. It's one of those games where everything was going right for the Ducks, and the Ducks just exploited a really fault that the Jets have, and it was a good win. It was fun to watch. It's one of those games, if you weren't there and you were planning to go, you're probably kicking yourself in the butt, like, man, I should have went to that game. But it was a fun one to watch and a fun one to be at. I think the only controversy of that game, which I don't know if fans went ahead and bought a jersey, but if you bought a Branson jersey of number 46 that he was on the road, he switched it to number 6 now. So if you guys got that jersey, I don't know if there's a few of you that did. Apologize, he's number 6 now.
Yeah, you can maybe go to Cool Hockey or something and have him take off that 4, Eddie, and maybe just put the 6 on there. You know what I'm saying? It might not be centered correctly, but hey, you could just take the 4 off the back there and off the sleeves and whatnot. But you're right, he did change his jersey number. A couple other things that did happen before this game, as you mentioned, Josh Mahura came up, had an outstanding game, getting 3 assists. Brendan Cooley was sent down to San Diego. He's still obviously dealing with that oblique injury. Nothing serious there, but Dallas Aikens talked about him, getting kind of some more playing time and getting the conditioning back and whatnot. So nothing crazy there. I expect Cooley to come back up, but like you said, it was a great game. The Ducks really piled it on in the second period, and you're right, when Grant scored that last goal there in the second period, I was sitting there in the stands, and that goes under review and everything, and I'm sitting there going, okay, is this going to count? Because how many times have we seen the Ducks get a goal off of a skate, arm, body, head, whatever it is, and then it gets reviewed and taken away? So I thank God the refs made the right call on this one for once. He did not punch the puck in. He didn't kick it in. He didn't do anything to deflect it in there. It came towards him and redirected back in, and that was the right call. So I was glad to see that the refs didn't screw that one up for once, right? No ref you suck chant in this game. But it was a great game all around for the Ducks playing the Jets. You also saw Fowler get his goal in there, which made him the all-time leading defenseman for the Ducks. You also saw Troy Terry get a goal in there. And, of course, Getzlaf as well. We've talked about that. He keeps shooting the puck, and he keeps getting goals. So, good thing for Anaheim in this one. The only negative thing probably is that the Ducks gave up 40 shots against. But hey, if you're going to put 7 goals in the back of the net and chase the opposing goalie out, you're pretty much going to win. Maybe not 100%, but 99.9% of the time, Eddie.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And the shot thing is another problem too. And yeah, it's a big win, and people just kind of just get tunnel vision on seeing that 7-4 win, and to go back and look at all the goals that were scored. But the Jets did take 18 shots to Ducks 6 shots in the third period, and it seems like the Ducks just kind of, they got complacent a little bit. I mean, they were still playing hard, and it wasn't by far their worst game where they just completely shut down and were just not playing at all. But to give up almost 20 shots in one period, it's just kind of crazy and insane. And you need to support your goalie a little bit more, because you're going to tire him out, and that's when injuries happen. That's when he gets overly worked or things of that nature. And they just need to tighten those things up, especially when a game that they're controlling most of the outcome. Yeah, you're up by a big number, and you have all the advantage going your way and momentum. Keep it going. Move that puck around a little bit more. Take a few minutes and set up a play. Don't just try to rush and kind of forget your defensive responsibilities because everyone's trying to get that next goal because 7 goals were been scored already.
No, you bring up a good point. This was probably the best game so far that the Ducks played on this homestand. And we'll go into these other games here in a minute, but the Vancouver, Chicago, and Minnesota games, I wasn't really happy with the way the Ducks played in these next 3 games. So part of it is that 60-minute game, as we talked about. So, like you said, yeah, the Ducks kind of held back a little bit in the third. You saw Carter Rowney; he got 2 goals. He got that empty net goal. First time he's gotten a multi-goal game, which was good. But the Ducks really put the pedal to the metal in the second period, and that's why they pulled ahead and were able to win this game. And yeah, they weren't necessarily playing a 60-minute game, and it's weird with this team. I don't really know what to expect anymore. I felt after this Winnipeg game pretty good with them going into Vancouver, and the Ducks did win this next game against the Canucks, but the Canucks came in a red-hot team, and they actually controlled the play for a good portion of this game. The Ducks, pulling this one out 2-1 in overtime. You saw Silfverberg score shorthanded, a fantastic goal in the first period there. And then, of course, Getzlaf, as we talked about, been shooting the puck more. He gets another goal in overtime. Crazy one. Basically, Markstrom goes for the poke check, leaves his jock strap on the ice, and Getzlaf just taps it in behind him, and there you go. I mean, there's nothing you can really say in that. But in this game against Vancouver, the Ducks came out with a win. But again, they gave up 40 shots on goal. I felt like the Canucks, controlled the play for this game, mostly for the first period. I mean, they outshot the Ducks 19-5 there. Ducks kind of battled back in the second and the third. And this was one of those games where you're fortunate, I think, for the Ducks to get 2 points. But it goes back to your point, Eddie, that they didn't really play a 60-minute game again here, and a lot of it, I noticed this season, it seems like the first periods have been problematic for the Ducks. Like I said, outshot 19-5 in the first period. Silfverberg does get the shorthanded goal, and the Ducks are up 1-0 at the end of the first period. But as we'll see when we talk a little bit later about the Chicago game, it's just been something that's been going. I don't know what it is. It's just been kind of some slow starts for the Ducks. I mean, I'm happy they beat Vancouver. Vancouver's been on fire. That team has been scoring goals like crazy on the power play, 5-on-5. And to see this game end up being a 2-1 score, I was really surprised. The Jet game went nuts. 11 goals in that game. I thought, okay, this game's going to have a bunch of goals, Eddie. And no, this game ends up just being 2-1.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising, especially how red-hot Vancouver's been, and then Anaheim coming off that big win. Vancouver's no joke this season. Are they a Stanley Cup team? I'm not sure. I don't know how hot they're gonna be throughout the season, and if their young guns can rise up to the pressure, especially when it comes down to crunch time and everyone's battling just that much harder for a playoff spot. But they're a good team, and coming in, I expected a score to be 4 or 5 around that. 3-4 goals scored between each team, but 2-1 was kind of just wow. It was surprising, and the first goal when Silfverberg scored, yeah, beautiful goal, and it was all set up by Raquel bringing it in, but Silfverberg got to where the puck was gonna be, and then, fortunate for him, that puck went off a defenseman before it came to Silverberg's stick, and he just went and buried it, and for his second shorthanded goal of the season. Beautiful goal. It was just amazing. And it seemed like the Ducks were going to take this 1-0 just the way the tempo of the game was until, another Ducks defenseman decides to, get the puck in the other player's net or their own net when Holzer. This time it wasn't Holzer's fault, really. Just like Cam's goal, and he literally looked like he shot it into Gibson's net. It just goes off Holzer's leg. It's one of those unfortunate bounces, and Vancouver got on the board and kind of forced that to overtime, which a lot of people were bummed out. They wanted that 1-0 shutout win, blah, blah, blah. But it was kind of, I'm glad that happened because the overtime was just fun to watch. First overtime of the season, you have our new coach. You have no idea what to expect. And what does he do at the second or third shift out there? He puts all kids out there. Mahura, Steele, and Terry. I think Mahura went off for a change. Getzlaf came off. Terry spots him. Fires the puck center ice. Getzlaf thinks he's a goalie at one time. He catches the puck with his glove. Instantly throws it down on his feet. And he takes off. And then Markstrom, I don't know what he thought he was doing. I think he thought he was a forward trying to join the rush or something. He comes straight out of his net, gets off one little move, beats him, and an empty net, and gets off, puts it away, and scores. And Ducks win 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah, that was dramatic the way that they won. Like you said, Terry with a great pass there. That was a beautiful play. And Getzlaf all alone. And that's one thing with Getzlaf. We've been talking about this. And all of you out there, I know you have been too, shoot the puck. And we've seen him doing that more this season. He's got those little moves he makes. He dips the shoulder. He turns the blade one way. You think he's going backhand, then he goes forehand. He's been doing a lot more deceptive moves and going with them. And it's been awesome to see. I mean, you've seen him now with, a couple different games in a row now that he's gotten consecutive goals. And this was a huge one. So a big game. The Ducks, they beat the Jets. They beat Vancouver. Probably the one bad spot in here, and we joked about this before recording, was Max Jones. He took some silly penalties in this game, and I'm calling it a timeout, Eddie. He gets sent down to San Diego for a couple days, and bye-bye. I mean, they didn't bring anybody else up. They just said, hey, Max, you're going down. So I didn't really hear a whole lot of comments about that from Akins or anybody else, but I'm calling it a timeout because he started doing his Nick Ritchie imitation. Halloween's already over, but I don't know. I think Max Jones dressed up as Nick Ritchie in this game against Vancouver because he took some really stupid penalties, and that's not like Max Jones. He usually doesn't do that. So I really think he was sent down, for a little break, so to call. Eddie, what do you think?
Oh, definitely. It kind of puts you in check. Whoever you think you are and think you deserve, you getting sent down, it really puts something in place. Like, okay, this team's not screwing around. You're still a rookie, and everything you do, you have to go out and earn it. You can't just have it, be expected, like, I'm this top pick or I'm this whatever, or the Ducks don't have that many players and I'm better than these players down in San Diego, so they can't call anyone up. No, it's not like that, because there's other players that are competing for a spot and want to play, and especially if you're a rookie, if you're not out there giving it your all, which all players should, but especially rookies, then hey, you have the option to go head back to San Diego and be down there in the minors, which, once you get a taste of being in the NHL, you definitely don't want to go back there, and that's kind of I guess that's where players go to not really die, but I mean, it's just bad from going to your professional team to the AHL team. So I think you said it best. It was a timeout. He played one game, and it was one of the games they actually won for the first time this season. He was a +-+1, and so I think he contributed and helped the goals earn their first victory. So that was a plus. And when they brought him back up, he seemed, I guess timeout worked. Like you put a kid in the corner. I guess that's the equivalent of putting a kid in the corner, just sending him down to San Diego.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. And, it gave me even a little, I mean, I already have respect for Dallas Aikens anyways, but it gave me a little bit more because it's like, hey, this guy had a bad night and you're not afraid to be like, you know what, dude, go down to San Diego. We'll see you in a couple days. I was just like, wow. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, obviously he's waiver exempt, so that part plays into it too. But still, he sent him down. I'm like, all right, cool. And you're looking at these games. We've been harping on Nick Ritchie a lot, this season, and he hasn't been taking as many dumb penalties. And in this next game, when they played Chicago, he actually scored a power play goal in that contest. So I think Nick Ritchie's turned it around a little bit. The Ducks did lose this game against Chicago, and this was a game I did call as a trap game because Chicago had lost the night before against LA. We know the Blackhawks always played the Ducks pretty well, regardless of the record. I was talking to some of my friends before the game. If you didn't catch it, it was Law Enforcement Appreciation Night, so the Orange County Sheriffs played LAPD during the day, and I actually happened to go over there and check it out. But a lot of my friends were like, "Oh yeah, the Ducks are going to play the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are terrible this year, and they're gonna, they should take it to them, and yada yada yada." And I told all of them, I go, "No, that's not what's going to happen." I go, "The Blackhawks always play the Ducks tough. It's going to be a close game. The Ducks might win, but it's going to be a close game. It's not going to be a blowout." And of course, what happened? It was a close game, and then the Ducks lost in overtime. It's just the way it is. Chicago, for some reason, plays the Ducks hard. And just like we talked about in the last podcast, if you didn't catch it, Vegas and Nashville, they also play the Ducks very, very well. So this game, a little frustrating. The Ducks got down 2 goals early in the first period. And then basically they rallied back. Good Branson got a goal in the second period. Ritchie got that power play goal, as I mentioned, in the third. And then they went to overtime. And, of course, our favorite guy, Patrick Kane, scores just 24 seconds in. The Ducks lost this game. But it was frustrating for me. I thought the Ducks did play better after the first period, Eddie. But, they honored Getzlaf on this night, his 1,000th regular season game, also as a Duck as well. And the Ducks came out flat in the beginning of this contest. I mean, I was happy with the way that they responded, but just a little disappointed the way that the game started. And I called it. I felt like this was going to be a game where maybe they felt like, hey, we got lucky, we beat Vancouver, all right. We're playing Chicago, who's freaking terrible. And it just was a recipe for disaster. And the Ducks did get a point, so I'm not all like, oh my God, the Ducks were terrible. But I just felt like if they would have come out stronger, they probably could have got 2 points in this one, Eddie.
Oh, yeah, definitely agree, especially against this team. They're a struggling team. They're having goaltending issues, or it's not really consistent. Their defensive core is a little bit overpaid, and they're kind of unmovable right now. No one's really going to touch their contracts. I mean, that's what you get for winning 3 Stanley Cups at the time they did. So it's just unfortunate that the Ducks should have played and should have beat this team. There's no excuse. They should have played hard, but it seems like Chicago pretty much had the tempo from the start of the game. They kind of controlled it. Yeah, the Ducks were able to crawl their way back, and it looked like, okay, we're going to overtime. The Ducks already scored the, two unanswered goals to tie it up. We're going to look for Getzlaf or something to, Getzlaf 1,000th game. He's going to be the hero. It would have been a good little ending to the story of the night. But, you can't have Taves and Patrick Kane out there and give them that much opportunity and space because they're going to score. They've been playing together for a long time. They have great chemistry. Patrick Kane, regardless of what you feel about him personally, he's a superstar. He's an elite player. And how fast he hit that puck was probably fast, and as hard as he did to score that goal, like he probably hit that puck harder than he hit that taxi driver. I don't know. It was just it was just a good play, good goal, and he should have been covered for it. And they left. Man, they gave him just that little bit of space, and he was able to do that. You can't give that player that much time and space. Yeah, it's probably a second or a little fraction of a second. That's a fraction of a second more time than he needs to put that puck in back of the net. So, I mean, what that movie, The Mighty Ducks 3, like how long did it take to score a goal? Like less than a fraction of a second, he throws the puck. Like, come on, you have to be aware, especially of a player of Patrick Kane's caliber when he's out there, especially on a 3-on-3.
Yeah, that was when they came out to start the overtime, and I saw Taves and Kane out there. I was sitting there with my wife, and I looked at her like, oh man, this probably isn't going to be good. We have these 2 guys out here, and then sure as you know what, 24 seconds in they score. I'm like, really, man? I was just like, these bastards. I can't stand Chicago. So and I was laughing. I forgot about that whole taxi incident you brought up. I wasn't going to bring up the other incident, which you all know about, where he was allegedly cleared, but whatever. Like you said, whatever you think about him off the ice, I mean, it is what it is. But on the ice, yeah, he's a great player, and that's why he comes through. And it just seems like Taves and Kane always come through against the Ducks. So they pulled it off. I felt for the Ducks in the first period. Part of the problem was they had those penalties. Richie shot the puck over the net, over the glass for the delay of game. Then Hampus Lindholm was called for tripping. I thought that was kind of an iffy kind of call, but regardless, Chicago has a 5-on-3. They're terrible on the power play, and then they score on the power play. So it's like, what the hell? So, the Ducks got into some penalty trouble there in the opening period, which that's kind of been a theme this season too, is there's been some games where the Ducks haven't been disciplined and they've been taking too many penalties, and that kind of got them behind. But I was happy to see them fight back and tie the game. I just really wanted them to get that extra, goal in the overtime and win. And they came up short on Getzlaf night, but they did have a lot of videos honoring him. Also, Teemu Selanne was in the building for this game. He was also in the building for the game against Minnesota. If you didn't check it out, he has his book out. It's been out before. It was in Finnish, but now it's in English, called My Life. He was there both games, signing books before the game, intermission. You know how Teemu is. We don't even have to say he's been doing all that. And we did get a couple copies, and we are going to give away a copy. We're going to do a giveaway on social media of an autographed copy of the book. So stay tuned for that. We'll post something on social media. We haven't quite come up with the contest details yet, but the Ducks then had a chance, to redeem themselves. Eddie, they had Minnesota the next game, another team that's been struggling, and they actually started this game good. So they played well. They blew up in the beginning of the second period. You had a goal by Raquel, a goal by Larson. Ducks were off to 2-0, a run here in the beginning of the second period. Everything looked good. The Wild did get another goal back in the second. Ducks were still up 2-1 going into the third. You thought everything was fine. They started the third period with the power play, and one of those things that you love and you hate this play, because when it happens for your team, it's great, but when it doesn't, you just get really pissed off. And the Ducks, didn't score on the power play. Minnesota gets the puck at the very end. Zuccarello comes out of the box. They spring him on the breakaway, and he scores. You're just sitting there going, really? And so then Minnesota added another goal, and they were up. And then, of course, they had that late goal as well. And the Ducks, there was just nothing they could do. But a frustrating game. I felt this one was the opposite of the Chicago game. Now the Ducks were the team that got up by 2. I know you want to talk about it too. They had a chance to go up by 3. Maybe that would have made a difference in this game. They would have won. But they kind of let off the gas after that, Eddie. And I felt like they let this one slip away. Losing to Chicago in overtime was one thing. I wasn't as upset about that. But this game, I don't know. I was really annoyed with the way this went down. And I know you really don't like the way this game went down, because I know how much you love the Wild.
Oh, I can't stand the Wild. I hate the Wild more than I hate the Kings. I can't stand their hockey team. I can't stand the fan base. It was a bad game to watch. It pissed me off. Seeing the Ducks play that well in the first and part of the second, they scored 2 back-to-back goals in seconds. You saw Bruce Boudreau's face kind of look deflated a little bit, what the F? And the players on the bench, too, were looking just kind of defeated. And then Max Jones had an opportunity on a 2-on-1, and unfortunately he missed. Not saying it's his fault that they lost the game, and by far not his fault at all. But I think that third goal would have put the nail in the coffin and would have sucked the rest of the life out of the Wild, and the Ducks could have probably cruised to, maybe not a 3-0, 4-0 win, but they probably would have got close, 3-2, 4-3 maybe. It's just one of those games where the Ducks, after the Max Jones seemed to miss, after that, they just didn't play anymore. It seemed they went on they were coasting. They were just putting on cruise control. The Wild were doing the same exact play on 5-on-5. They had 2 of their defensemen up top and one of their forwards kind of going up top too. So they had three skaters on top and 2 of them umbrella kind of thing. But they had 2 of the guys in front of Gibson, and they kept running the same play and rotating, and the Ducks were just either standing around flat-footed looking at them, or they were just chasing having 2 guys chase one guy and you left the other guys open. They were rotating that for a good 1-2 minutes, and I'm looking at it okay, come on, I'm Mr. Joe Blow fan, and I'm really seeing how they're setting up. Why can't you guys get a clue, or on the bench yell what they're doing? And unfortunately the Ducks just didn't catch on, and they got scored on, and from there it just that one by Zuccarello, it was the wrong person to give a breakaway to. It was just, like, he had all the time in the world. He could have probably set up a table and had dinner with Gibson before he scored that goal. It was just bad, and Gibson was warning him too. The seconds were winding down on the Ducks power play. He's hitting a stick hard on the ice, and no one really caught up on it. And I mean 2-2, and after that, I mean the rest is history. I just hate the way this game went down, and I definitely hate seeing the Wild win. The only positive thing was just having Selanne there and getting to talk to him for 3 seconds again. That was the only upside to the game, and then, of course, seeing Mike.
Yeah, we got to hang out for once. Usually I'm in the cheap seats because I can't really afford the 200 and 300 level. That's just the way it is. But I actually gave my tickets away to this game originally to another friend. They had a couple of family members that wanted to go to the game, and they sit right by me. So I gave those away, and then I decided, okay, I'll get I'll get the 300 level seats, and I'll go sit there. And then Eddie got some too, so we got to hang out and have a good time. And you got the book signed by Teemu in person. You posted the photos and everything like that, which was awesome. And like we said, we're going to give away a book too on social media. But that part was all good. I guess the other part that was good for a lot of you out there too is that Kase did come back in this and play in this game finally. He only had one shot on goal, but I didn't know this was his nickname, Eddie, but everybody's calling him the Energizer Bunny all of a sudden. I saw it everywhere. Eric Stevens and all these people are calling him that, so I guess that's his new nickname. But either way, I'm glad to see him back. When he took that hit earlier this season, people were worried about was it his head and was it a concussion thing, and it wasn't. It was his jaw, and now he's back. He's probably a little bit sore, but he's out there and playing. That was a good sign. But other than that, the Ducks, I felt like they let this one slip through. I think they could have won this game. Like you said, if Max Jones scores on that 2-on-1 and make it 3-0, I think the Ducks do go on to win this one. Not his fault, but they're just saying if they got that. Even if someone else had scored and made it 3-0, I think the Ducks would have won this game. Just the third period there kind of irritated me. And like I said, that play with Zuccarello, when you have a guy come out of the box and you spring the guy out, it happens to everybody once in a while. And you love it when it's your team. You hate it when it's the other team. So, that's what happened. And so that's where the Ducks are at. They've won a couple games here and then lost a couple games. Obviously, one in overtime that they lost. So they're 2-1-1 so far on the road trip, on the homestand. And they have a couple more games coming up. But, the thing with this team, Eddie, is I just don't know what their identity is. I just don't. Some people commented after this game against the Wild, and they said that they weren't that upset, that this team is young and yada, yada, yada. And I get that. Yeah, the team's young. They're trying to find their identity. But when you play in Chicago and Minnesota, who both, for lack of a better term, have sucked this year, and you get down to one and you have to rally back to win, try to win in overtime, you lose, and then another one you get the lead and blow it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be a homer. I'm a little frustrated with this team these last couple games. Actually, even the Vancouver game, they got lucky too. I mean, I haven't really figured this team out. I felt like they've started decent, and now they've been kind of like last season. So I don't know what your take is on the team right now, but I feel like there's just kind of a little bit of an identity crisis because we just don't know. They can get in a crazy shootout with the Jets, but then they can lose to Chicago, on a team that had already played back-to-backs and stuff. It's just weird. I don't know. The way these last 4 games have gone, I think the Ducks are lucky to have 5 out of the 8 points because they really haven't played like they should have that many points, Eddie.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Joshua Southern asked this question on Facebook, too. He mentioned how last season was kind of similar, and he put the word deja vu in there because the Ducks started off strong and then just kind of flattened and started playing just how they're playing now. And yeah, at first when the Ducks started off hot, everyone's happy and everyone's, we're going to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And slow down, people. It's just only a few games, and it seems like the Ducks are kind of coming back down to reality. And it's getting frustrating, especially losing to teams like Minnesota and Chicago. Like the teams that you have the ability and skill to beat, you have a new system. You're not using it. You're not playing that 60-minute game. And I'm going to keep saying this every freaking show for the next how many times I'm on this show for the years come. You're not going to win a game if you don't play the full game, period. and the Ducks aren't doing that. It's just that's what's frustrating me the most. Turning on, watching the team, going over there to the games, watching. I want to watch the Ducks play. I don't want to watch the Ducks play for 30 minutes and then the rest are just, coasting. If it's going to be like that, next time I go to a game, I'll watch for 20 minutes and I'll go drink for another 20 minutes and spend $100 on a couple beers. It's just like, pull your heads out of your ass and play with some heart. Like, Getzlaf had his 1,000th game. He got his silver stick last night against the Wild, and you guys come out and play like shit. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, play for your captain. And Getzlaf's, he just a lead by example. I think he played well. He wasn't the problem. It's just everyone around him wasn't really rallying for that, and the energy wasn't there with the players. And I don't know. Like, I really hope that they took Getzlaf out the night before and they all had fun and set out till like 6, 7 in the morning. I mean, if a report comes out like that, yeah, it's going to be like, okay, you guys are professionals, but hey, you know what, I get it. 1,000 games doesn't come every single day. So, yeah, go ahead and celebrate, have your fun. I mean, we all been hungover, most of us that ever had alcohol in their lives. People that don't drink or anything. I'm sure you've had migraines before and woke up with the flu. Yeah, it's just frustrating. And it still stings more because it's the Wild, and I can't stand that team. But I really wanted that win for Getzlaf. He had his family there. It was his moment, and Getzlaf's such an amazing guy. He's so humble. He doesn't want recognition. He doesn't care. When he was mic'd up and they're giving him his video tribute, he just mentioned how he felt uncomfortable, and he was all business. He didn't care about his 1,000th game at that moment. He cared about getting the Ducks on the board and getting a win. And it's just really unfortunate that they, as a team, they couldn't pull it off for that 1,000th game. And then when he got his silver stick and was celebrated, it was just really frustrating to watch, Mike. And it was good. I think what made this game better was, coincidentally, I got a ticket upgrade, and it was like right next to you, so we got to hang out during the intermission. And then Selanne, and shout out to the couple fans I was in line with. They were really friendly and really talkative, so they kind of made that line go by fast. And the fans that were standing in line, if you guys were, you know how hot it was in that team store and how cluttered, and everyone was just kind of like really personal space. There's zero of it. But he stood there for the whole game signing. He was supposed to just sign until the puck dropped, watch the game, come back at intermissions, but I guess he noticed how big the line was and people coming up, and he signed for like 4+ straight hours. Signed the book, signed people's jerseys, took pictures with everyone. And every fan that walked up to him, he greeted them with a really big smile. He made you feel like that second that you're the only thing that mattered in your life. And just like I said on the tweet, Mike, I felt like a little kid again, like watching my idol, and had that like butterflies in my stomach when I went to go talk to him. It was like, wow, I got put back into like a kid mode, just looking up to someone that I really admire, and then he just makes you feel that way. And I guess he did that in Winnipeg too. Spent 6 hours plus signing when he wasn't supposed to sign for 6 hours, but he had nothing better to do, he said, and he wanted to sign for every one of the fans. I think he's kind of a player, in my opinion. To me, I think he's the greatest athlete ever in my life, in the history of sports, because he just the way he is, he puts people, strangers first and fans first, and there's not one fan that can ever say anything bad about Selanne at all. There's no negative things from games when he played for the Ducks. I remember a puck flying out of the stands and hitting someone. He jumps off the bench and brings a towel to throw it over the glass. I don't know if it was a Ducks fan or a visiting fan. He didn't care. No one really cared. We want to know if the fan's okay, but that's the kind of person he is, and it was just great to have those few seconds, a few minutes to just shake his hand and thank him for writing the book, and just like, wow, have like a little fangirl, quote unquote, moment, and get a nice little picture. And JT, one of my buddies, got the picture for me, and he captured the moment perfect when I walked up to him, and you just perfectly see him just smiling right there. I'll probably tweet that photo out and tag DNP, so you can see that how he just glows and makes everything better. If you didn't get a chance to meet him the 2 days he was at Honda Center, he's going to be at Barnes & Noble on Thursday at the Spectrum in Irvine. He'll be there at 7 p.m. signing autographs. It's supposed to be from 7 to 9 p.m., but however Selanne feels and however people show up, it might extend longer. I don't know. I'd suggest you call Barnes & Nobles over there in Irvine and for further details. But if you can get out there and get a book, sign if you have a book, and you bought it already off Amazon or something, and you just want to go and say hi to him, I'd highly suggest that. It's just a moment that yeah, Ducks lost last night, but just having that experience with them last night made it all better. And I still went on the drive, and I couldn't even sleep. I was so just like pumped up, just being able to meet him again. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? He might be at Barnes and Noble until Friday morning. The way that he does that, it's absolutely true. I remember seeing him at the restaurant one time, and I happened to have a couple of his hockey cards, and he signed them all for me, just no questions asked. He's like, "Here you go," and he's like you said, he makes you feel, like you're the most important person at that moment, and he'll hang out and sign autographs and everything, and I always laugh. I've never seen him. I think upset other than when he's yelling at the refs about a bad call. he's always happy, Eddie.
Oh, I saw one time when I was younger, I think when I was like 16, 17 maybe, the Anaheim Ice practice, they were filming a commercial and he was signing for me. I think it was one of the first times I've meeting him. And then he's talking and joking and like laughing. It was me and a couple other people there. And then one of the camera guys or whatever, "Hey, shut the hell up." And, we're trying to record here. And he goes, "Hey, you shut the hell up. This is my rink." Like, and it's like Selanne saying that. I'm like, okay. And yeah, they had the staff from Anaheim Ice, I guess, try to get us out of that area. But I mean, you're not going to tell Selanne. He already screamed out, "Hey, this is my explicitive rink." So that's the kind of player he is. And I had that experience too at his restaurant, Mike. I told you that when I had a dinner at his restaurant. I was in Laguna Beach and we happened just to stroll in there. And fortunate for us, there was a cancellation, so we got to sit for the bar area, and he was there, and I asked if I can just, say hi. And he's like, "Give me a second." He comes to the table, and he's just hanging out, talking to me. And I had a thing on my knee because I messed it up playing hockey. He asked me, like, "Oh, what happened to your leg?" And I told him I jumped up to block a shot. It knocked me off balance. I fell, hurt my knee, and I can't really walk. And he asked me, "Are you a goalie?" I'm like, at that time, I didn't play goalie, so I'm like, "No, I'm a forward." He goes, "You're effing stupid. You don't block shots. You're not a goalie." That was just like, oh man. But it was, Mike, it was one of those things that I'll cherish for a lifetime. Being able to sit there and him drinking his Moscow Mule, I'm having a beer, and he's talking to me like I'm his best friend. And like you said, and I said, true, nothing else matters in the world at that time. And it was just, wow. We are so lucky to have someone like that, part of hockey and part of the Ducks. He's a great ambassador for the game, and he's a great example of what a professional athlete should be. Maybe he's a little too nice at times, which is perfectly normal. No one's complaining about that, but I mean, man, I have his book. I'm going to plan to read it this weekend and do a review on it, so that's going to be my Bible for this weekend. But man, thank you, Selanne, for everything that you continuously do.
Yeah, I mean, there's like you said, there's nothing more. I mean, every time you see him, like I said, I've only seen him really mad at the ref, so that's really it. But yeah, anytime you get a chance to talk to him, he always makes you feel at home and whatnot. We're gonna switch gears a little bit. We'll talk about the goals here and some league news and things like that. Just want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by Cool Hockey. If you want to get a $200 gift card, sign up for our patreon.com/DucksNPucks website. We're giving one out each month. We're going to announce the winner for the month of October here shortly. And then we'll obviously do one for November and so on. So check them out. Cool Hockey. They make the jerseys pretty affordable, and it's obviously the legit stuff as well. So they're the sponsor for the show this week. With that, okay, the Ducks, this homestand, what's going on? They're in the middle of it right now. They don't have a lot of games, so if you're listening to the show right now, they're not playing till Sunday. So they did send Josh Mahura back down to San Diego. Don't freak out. The Goals are playing on Friday, so it looks like he's going to go down there and get some game action. I expect him to be back, unless for some reason they're going to bring Gooley up instead. But I really think he's going to go down there and get just play in that one game. And I know, Eddie, we want to talk about the Goals a little bit. Some of the fans, ask about how they're doing and what's going on. They had a really terrible start to the season, which we knew, not that we knew was going to happen, but it wasn't really a shock knowing that Dallas Eakins was with the Ducks, and a lot of the players are up in Anaheim. But they had a rough start. But Eddie, I know you want to talk about it a little bit. The Gulls did finally win a couple games.
Yeah, they did. Finally, man, I was getting worried. They were winless in 6 games, but they had back-to-back against the Colorado Eagles this past weekend on the first and second. They beat the Eagles the first game 5-4 with the game-winning goal coming from Isaac Lundestrom. So that was pretty good seeing I guess that's our future. He's going to be a future, I think, top 6 player for the Ducks. Stolarz got the win, made 30 saves on that one. That was their first win of the season. That was the game that Max Jones played in. He didn't score, but he was a +-+1. So he was on the ice for 1 goal. And then the second night, they had Stolarz in net again, made 27 stops in a 5-2 win against the Eagles again. You had Gooley and Lundestrom get a couple goals in there too, or a goal apiece in there. So it's good to see those people contributing, knowing that Gooley, I'm pretty sure he'll be back up for the Ducks come near future, and same with Lundestrom. I can see him making, especially if an injury happens. Unfortunately, with one of those things, that he'll come up and he's a great player. I love the way he plays. He just needs more, I guess, with not experience, but like motivation. I guess what I'm trying to say. But I mean that's good. They got their first back-to-back wins, so hopefully they just start going up from there, and they start clicking better, and they get that chemistry back, and they learn to play better hockey. I mean, goals hockey from last season. They are struggling too. I think they're copying the Ducks. They're struggling on the power play. They're only 25% this season on the power play. The good thing is on that second 5-2 win against the Eagles, they did score 2 power play goals. Their PK has been pretty good at 93.8%. So I guess they're not afraid to take penalties because they can easily kill them off. But I wish them the best of luck, and I really hope they get going. It's going to be unfortunate that if they can't make a playoff appearance this season. But I think they got all that the hiccups out of the way, and having these back-to-back wins against a really skilled Eagles team. The Eagles have a lot of talented players and players that could be on the Avs permanent roster right now if they weren't logjammed with other forwards the Avalanche did pick up in the offseason. But they're good wins, and that's good to see finally. We had a trade to announce too, a little minor one. Ryan Johnston from Toronto was picked up for my favorite player, future considerations. So it's unfortunate that he's traded. He could have made a really big impact on the team, and I look forward to when we traded for him back. I just bought that jersey too, and it's gone. So, yeah, that's about it for the goals. I wish them the best of luck, and don't be surprised if the Ducks send maybe another player down just to get another game time on, come Friday, just to get that experience, not them to be so cold. And it's not a bad thing either. If I don't know how it works over there. If I were a player, I'd be like, hey, I want to get a game in, or I don't know. No,
yeah,
actually,
exactly.
never mind. Because I wouldn't want to be sent down to San Diego in the first place. Because be careful what you wish for. So I'll just take that one back. So that kind of wraps it up for the goals. Unless you want to add anything, Mike.
No, I was just laughing because we had we talked about Goodbranson. And we had the article posted and the trade happened. So then we posted the Taylor Hall, trade rumor stuff, which we obviously talked about in the last show. And then the Ducks did make a trade, though it was really a minor league trade that day. So I was just kind of laughing because it went down. And for those of you that are like, what the hell is future considerations? It's Eddie's favorite player. You can go buy it. I don't know if you can fit all the letters on the jersey. Cool Hockey might be able to help you out with that. But basically, no, in all seriousness, future considerations usually means it's some kind of draft pick down the road, or maybe the Ducks will get another player from Toronto in exchange for future considerations. Maybe there's something they just didn't figure out yet. So usually it's another prospect player or some kind of draft pick in the future or whatnot. It just hasn't been decided on. So that's why they do that sometimes. It's just kind of something that they work out with between the minor league teams. Usually not a big deal. It just usually means that something hasn't been decided yet, or maybe another little minor deal will come in the future. So yeah, and like you said, finally, the Gulls won a couple games. Jones was down there for one of them, and hopefully they can win some more. Like we said, it's going to be tough with a lot of the players up in Anaheim right now, but. We do have a couple other players that we're kind of watching. Like we said, Taylor Hall is one to watch from the last show. If you missed out on the discussion, go back and listen to that. But there's two more players out there, Eddie, that also, maybe ones that the Ducks would be interested in, maybe not. I don't know. I know you want to bring them up. We'll kind of talk about them, and I'll let you delve into both of those guys.
Well, the first one I'll bring up, because it's going to be quick, is, of course, Josh Hosang is still waiting around to get traded. Apparently, he requested a trade, and I guess he didn't report, or he was told not to report to the AHL when he got sent down after he got put on waivers. So he's just kind of in Toronto skating around, waiting for the Islanders to trade him. And this kid, young kid, right winger, only has 24 points in the 53 games he's played. 28th overall pick, and I think this is kind of goes back to he thinks he's entitled to something that he hasn't earned yet. He makes cocky comments how he was called up and the Islanders had a win streak, and then he gets set down, they lose, and no, dude, you're a rookie. Go down there, keep your mouth shut, play your ass off, and earn a roster spot. Don't sit there and cry every time you get sent down because you weren't playing well enough. You're just kind of screwing yourself over, and you got put on waivers, and no other team picked you up and don't want to take a chance on you at all. It's just you got to adjust your attitude if you want to play in the league, and don't expect things to come to you. You made it this far by working hard. Keep doing it day in and day out to earn your spot. I mean, I saw a few fans mention that we should pick him up. Absolutely not. Just showing his attitude and what's going on in New York over there with the Islanders. No, he's just going to be a cancer culture in the locker, and we don't need a player like that thinking he's entitled to something that he doesn't deserve. Another player that's really interesting right now, he's an RFA, is Jesse Puljujärvi from the Edmonton Oilers. He's right now playing in Finland, where he has 20 points in 18 games, 11 goals and 9 assists. He requested a trade from Edmonton, and he doesn't want to re-sign, or he said he's not going to re-sign unless he gets traded because he didn't want to play for the Edmonton Oilers anymore. He was the 4th overall draft pick. He's a right winger, a big kid, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's played in 139 games and has 39 points, 17 goals, 20 assists. I think this is a player the Ducks should be looking at and should be interested in. Yeah, we have a lot of right wingers, but this kid has the potential to be, a top forward for the Ducks or for any team. It just don't judge him with how he plays on Edmonton, because Edmonton's one of those teams that likes to rush players. We've seen it with Neil Yakupov a few years ago, and they just kind of rushed him in, and he never quite developed and really came into the league as that superstar he was projected to be. This kid's doing great in Finland. He's skating around with guys a little older than him and stuff like that. I think I'm not sure what's going to take to get this player, or if the Ducks are even showing interest in him. But I wouldn't mind the Ducks going after him and picking him up. Maybe giving it's probably going to take another prospect, or maybe like a lower tier player on the roster, like not Silverberg or Raquel kind of players like that. So don't think about that in a draft pick. I don't know, Mike. What do you think about this guy? That's something I don't know. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think with Hosang, I think there's a little bit of an attitude issue there, and I just don't see him fitting in to the Ducks. But Puljujärvi is definitely one. If you're going to try and go out there and get somebody, I would like the Ducks to go get him. I mean, we talked about Taylor Hall and the Ducks cap space on the last show and how the Ducks could pull it off, but then, of course, that they would have to give up, like you said, a Raquel Silverberg type, and I don't know if that's something the Ducks want to do, and I just don't know if that would really happen. So if you were going to try to get another offensive forward, I think Puljujärvi would be a good addition that you could do, and you could send someone like a Nick Ritchie and maybe a draft pick or something like that and go get him, and I wouldn't be upset with that. I think you add him in there as another offensive threat. And yeah, he's a right wing forward. You've got Kase that's back. And of course, you have Raquel, Henrique, and Silverberg. That line has just been stupidly good this year. That's the reason also why I wouldn't want to trade them for like a Taylor Hall type or any kind of trade really right now. But you could, bring in Puljujärvi. Maybe you throw him in on the third line and see how he does. And add some offense. It's definitely one that I don't think the Ducks should kick the tires on. I don't know if it happens, but it's definitely an option that's not going to cost them as much as going out for a Taylor Hall if they do look into that. So I would look for that. I mean, right now he's not doing much for Edmonton because he's over there in Finland doing his thing. So I would be like, hey, let's bring him in and see what he can do for the Ducks. And right now he's only costing $900,000, so it's a much cheaper option. And maybe if you send over somebody like a Nick Ritchie or a draft pick, you create some cap space and then maybe make another move down the line as the way the season goes. But of those two, if I was to pick, that's who I would go for. I would totally pass on Ho-Sang. I just don't see him being a benefit for the team. But yeah, Puljujärvi, if the Ducks are interested, I would try to see what you could do. Maybe you can get him for a cheaper thing right now because the way that things are going. I don't know, but either way, right now the Edmonton Oilers are losing out if they don't get him to come back and play, or if he's not traded. It's not helping their team either way. So they got to figure something out over there.
Oh, definitely. I can totally see a Nick Ritchie with a draft pick package for that player, Puljujärvi. Sorry, that's doable. I think Edmonton would benefit, and he would benefit too, playing over there in Edmonton. And Nick Ritchie's been playing better lately. He's creating a lot of opportunity for his teammates to get those goals. He might not be getting all the assists that he deserves, but he's creating those chances and opening up that space so other players can score. And he hasn't been taking dumb penalties, and I think he's been playing pretty decent. And I can see something like package with a draft pick. It's doable. The time's ticking for Edmonton because once December 1st hits and he's not signed to a contract, then he's out for the whole season. He won't be eligible to sign until the summer.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's like I think they're being patient, hoping. I'm not sure if they want to let him go yet. They're hoping that he might see what's going on in Edmonton and want to stick around. But it seems like he really wants out and wants a fresh start. He's just tired of playing there. Obviously, he's over there in Finland playing. He's not playing with them. So he's still a restricted free agent. So re-signing him, I don't think it'll be over $3 million at all. So it's going to be cheap to get him, if that trade happens. If it doesn't, oh well. If it does, cool. I would like to see how it pans out, and especially, if it can help the Ducks and we can kind of tap into his true potential.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying go for it. With some of the other league news, I know you wanted to cover too is another person with an attitude issue. Lucic was in the news recently, getting suspended, and then also Kane with his off-ice issues. You want to dive into those a little bit, Eddie, and then we'll finish up with a couple other topics about the league.
Yeah. There's a few league news here that we want to talk about. Of course, if you guys missed the game, Lucic sucker punched Cole Sherwood. That's Kiefer Sherwood's brother. He sucker punched him, and he went down. Lucic got a 4-minute double minor, and then Sherwood got a 2-minute slashing penalty. And Lucic ended up getting a 2-game suspension, and everyone in the hockey world flipped out and blamed Lucic 110% and painted Cole Sherwood as kind of the innocent bystander, which I'm in no way defending Lucic. I like his style of play. I can't say I don't like the style of play because I like that old school style. And if I say I didn't like that, I'd be hypocritical to the game that I like. I just don't like how he takes things overboard. He just does things over the top, and it's always been like that. And it seems like he tries sometimes to intentionally injure someone. So that's the difference than what I like. Yeah, I like that hard-hitting, physical, gritty style. Yeah, hurt them for the game. Their hurt is different from injured. Hurt, you have a bruise. Hurt, your head's ringing, but it's nothing serious. Hurt, just a day of sleep, rest, Advil, you're fine. That I can deal with, but the punch that he did was over the top. However, the golden rule in hockey, everyone knows this from when you're younger to professionals to beer leaguers to beginner players, you never touch the goalie. And if you touch the goalie, be expecting a response because that action has a response coming. And it's not a sucker punch. Definitely not a sucker punch because Cole Sherwood being in the National Hockey League and growing up playing hockey all his life, he knows that rule too. You touch a goalie, be expecting someone to come after you. And you know what? He touched the goalie, and Lucic went and went after him. And I don't blame Lucic at all for that, because I would have done the same thing. I've done the same thing numerous times. I beat the hell out of people. I'd sucker punch someone. I had a 70-year-old goalie that was playing with me, and this guy went and just speared him in the crotch after the whistle. You best believe my stick was in the back of his on the back of his jersey. I just started flinging punches. I didn't care. I took a suspension. But, I mean, yeah, both players were at fault for this. I think the game before in Vegas, I believe, when Calgary played, Riddick, which has been playing amazing for Calgary, he got speared. And no one really came to his defense. So when this happened again, Lucic took exception to it, and he threw a punch. Yeah, was it excessive? Of course it was. It looked bad. But, I mean, Cole had it coming. He should have, if he reacted to it when he saw Lucic coming at him. The 2-game suspension is excessive too, and I think that's over the top, and I don't agree with that suspension at all, one bit. Yeah, I it's just he got the double minor, and for those saying, oh well, Sherwood didn't touch him, he got called for slashing. Yeah, on the website it says he slashed against Lucic, but no, he hit the goalie. And like I said, you don't do that, and if you do that, be expecting something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go in like that, you know you're going to get hit. If you're going to, the goalie's going to cover the puck, and then you're going to try and jab at his glove or his pads or whatever. I mean, you know that you're going to draw the ire of somebody from the other team. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't. Lucic kind of almost like did a flying Superman punch. I was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But I get why he was upset. And like you said with the suspension, maybe a game you suspend him. I don't know. Maybe they did 2 because we know he has a history of being kind of a hothead and whatnot. But
well, that's all he has now. He can't keep up with the game at all anymore. He's slow. He's just kind of. I'll be surprised if he's not bought out or something. It just, he's done.
Yeah, I mean, he's resorting to the physical stuff more so than skill. Obviously, the last couple seasons, really, in my opinion. So, it is what it is. But I think, like you said, he went a little bit overboard. So, what else did you want to talk about? I think you want to talk about Kane and his gambling issues that have been going on, Eddie. Another player that's got some stuff, newsworthy.
Yeah, Evander Kane. Another incident. I remember you guys remember the incident a long time ago he had, and he's posting a photo on Instagram holding a stack of money. Like, dude, come on, really? Well, he's getting sued by the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas for $500,000 in gambling markers. He took 8 credits between $20,000 and $100,000 in April, and it was approximately during Game 3 or 4 of the Stanley Cup series against the Sharks and the Knights. So instead of his main attention being on his team, playing those games, he was over there gambling. And for those people that don't know what the markers stuff are, basically it's a line of credit these casinos will give you based on your income and your credit. They'll give you like a large sum of money to gamble, and you're expected to pay that back if you lose. He's $500,000, and he makes pretty good money. I don't understand why he had to resort to suing him. And like I said, he's not gambling on hockey. Don't think he's just over there like, oh, I'm betting on myself to win, or I'm betting on the Vegas Golden Knights to beat the Sharks. It's nothing like that. This is strictly probably football or whatever sport was going on, wherever there's gambling everywhere in Vegas. You can probably gamble if you flip a coin, heads or tails, and you can put a wager on that in Vegas. But it's not a good look for him, and especially when you're in playoffs. You should be 110% dedicated to your team getting to the Stanley Cup. That said, I'm glad he did that. I'm glad if distracted him or distracted the team, they lost. I mean, whatever gets San Jose losing, but it's like, man, you're a veteran player in the league. You should know better, and you're not paying your bills. Like, dude, you make a lot of money. That $500,000. That's probably like money I'll probably never see in my lifetime. Well, probably I'll see it like when I'm really old, and that's it. And not really have fun with it. But it's just, it brings that negative look to the game too. Like, oh, this player's not playing the debt. But I don't know. I just don't like it, and I think he's the kind of a player that knows better, and it kind of bugs me that if the Ducks were in the Stanley Cup playoffs and then one of our players was out gambling during that time, like, come on, man. Your head should be in the game 110%, especially when you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, time and place, right? I mean, if you're going to gamble, I got nothing against it. But if you're in the final, I'd be really focused on game, film and player film and the other team and trying to win to get the cup and everything like that, or even the playoffs in general. I wouldn't be out there gambling. And then even if I did, I'd make sure to pay the money that I owe. So, Kane's kind of being a douchebag right now, not taking care of all that stuff. And whatever, maybe it did cost his team. I don't know. But it's definitely something that it's just negative. It's not something that we need out there in regard to the league and whatnot. So kind of an unfortunate thing for them. But hey, whatever. If it keeps the Sharks choking, I guess that's the way it's going to be. So, and if you haven't seen, we still have the T-shirt out too. So you can go to tpnhockey.com and purchase it as well. It's on there. So a couple other quick things really to finish up the show. Eddie, I think you wanted to talk about some of the jerseys for Dallas and Nashville, and then also there was a little bit of news about certain drugs being used in the NHL. Shocker.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just a couple news things real quick. Dustin Byfuglien, the story got weirder, more weird, whatever. He had surgery that was just randomly announced that he had successful ankle surgery in Minnesota. He didn't inform his team at all. They're not sure, and no one's sure if this was sustained from last season playing or something in the off season. He just failed to notify anyone and went ahead and got the surgery. So now they're looking at him filing a grievance with the National Hockey League Players Association to kind of get some salary back while he's recovering. But they're going to have to see if it was season like hockey related or it's just a big mess over there. And I guess, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm glad there's no mental health issues like I speculated on before because it was weird. He just stopped playing like that. So I still wish him a speedy recovery and hope everything gets figured out for them, whatever. But the Stars and the Preds have their Winter Classic jerseys. The Predators,
ugly.
Yeah, they're ugly, but the Stars a little. I kind of like the Stars' look compared to the Predators. The Predators was just plain and boring, and their shoulder patch looked decent on the jersey, but I don't know. They both look ugly. Stars and Preds, go Stars for the Winter Classic. That's all I'm going to say for that. One last thing when it comes down to league news, drug use, cocaine and Molly is, I guess, going around the league now, and it's causing a big stir. The Athletic Katie Strang, she wrote an article about this, and she asked a couple of the Ducks players, Henrique and Shore, about what they would warn young players coming in the league, and they both said cocaine and Molly, cocaine because it's more commonly accepted and people are just doing it out in the open. That's kind of strange. Just thinking that someone just wrote there snorting coke out in the open and that's normal. I guess a former player said too. Or a player said it's not like it's a hockey thing; it's a cultural thing. The player said, pointing to the usage rates among the general population as well. Maybe I'm not rich enough to hang out with people that just do coke openly like that. I know that's an expensive drug, but that's a big problem in the NHL. And these are professional athletes. And yeah, I don't like to get into people's business, but I am because that's bad. People, you had the guy from the Angels. I totally forgot his name because I don't follow baseball, but he died of an overdose from drugs. It's just. I don't know. I don't know why this issue. I know this is not brand new at all. I'm pretty sure it's been going on for a lot. It's just the Kuznetsov situation probably opened Pandora's box again, and it's unfortunate that now another negative story that had to do with the NHL is popping up, and this time it's cocaine and Molly, and I mean those are some serious drugs. It's not like it's marijuana or it's mostly legal now, but it's just, I mean, where does it stop? It's just crazy, and it's unfortunate. I really hope that I hope none of the Ducks players are into this situation, and I hope, if they are, nothing fatal happens to them or nothing ever comes out, because I would hate that publicity to come down on the Ducks. Selfish me, because, yeah, it's bad for the league in general, but especially being a Ducks fan, I would hate to see that, and it kind of, loses respect for the player. You're a professional, And I get it. You have a lot of problems going on, but I mean, I have a lot of problems going on. I have a lot of mental issues. I don't sit there and rack a line up or take a pill or something that's illegal. That's just my take on it. I'm not, I don't, not trying to judge them, and I don't care what anyone else does. Just do it on your own time. You're not, you're not professional. I don't know. I have a thing with people being professional, and if you're a professional athlete, you just have to have some kind of like conduct, like a code of ethics that you have to live by, and it's just bad that this is all popping up now.
Yeah, it's something that's been in all the sports. Unfortunately, it's not really a surprise. The pitcher you were talking about was Tyler Skaggs on the Angels, by the way. In case you those of you listening, if you're baseball fans, that's what Eddie was referring to. And the bigger issue too is the fentanyl out there. That's what's really scary. Like within his situation, because now that stuff's getting mixed in with other drugs. It's super powerful. People don't know exactly what they're taking and whatnot, and it's really screwing up, people in general. It's causing breathing problems and chest and heart palpitations and things like that. So that's the thing that's scary with all the things out there. Of course, the performance enhancing drugs, that's been a big thing. That we've seen football, baseball, things like that. But with that, I at least understand it a little bit more. I'm not saying it's right, but I understand if you're trying to hit a baseball farther, you're trying to be stronger in a football game or hockey game, because they're brutal sports. So you're trying to do things that can give you more endurance or things like that. I get it, but these other things like you're talking about, the cocaine and Molly and things like that, those things aren't helping your muscles or enhancing your play. But yeah, maybe you might be a little bit more up or awake, but they have smelling salts. Hello, you don't need cocaine. There's other things that you can do. So it's just something that's out there right now, and it's something that's not going to go away. Like you said, you just got to hope that the players out there make the right decisions, and you hope the guys on your team make the right decisions. So and it's just something to think about for all of you out there too. If you are looking to go into sports or anything, be careful, the stuff that's out there, and be careful what you get from other people, because you may never know what they're handing you. So just keep that in mind before you decide to try something. So we're going to be back next week. We'll talk about the Ducks as they finish up the homestand. I also forgot to mention we do have another watch party coming up on the 18th at El Ranchito. It's a 4:00 game. Hopefully you can make it. That'll be Monday, November 18th, as I said, at El Ranchito in Orange. And don't forget to check out patreon.com/DucksNPucks. Sign up. Like we said, we're giving away game tickets every month. $200 gift card to Cool Hockey as well. So we'll keep doing the show each week, depending on the Ducks schedule, usually around Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So thanks for listening. Appreciate the support, and let's go Ducks.